Ravi is of course there all the time. Thinking about how do we influence policy, how do we make the governments function, how do we, even if my model is a small one, it should influence the public spendings. They've done that in Andhra, they've done that in Telangana, many parts of Maharashtra, their people are working, bringing sustainable technologies, supporting that, supporting allied sector and all that. So I think Ravi will talk about it. And therefore I believe that institutional mechanism of engagement is far better for a community change than individual engagement. Individual engagement may not go far, but an institutional engagement can bring about a change in the way communities. And at some point, somewhere communities may need little help. It may not be money, it could be skills, but that help through institutional structure makes a huge difference. Public spending, policy, activism, that's a completely different sphere. Some of us, others would take that approach. We will have to decide our own approaches. But why do I engage? And I live with a story that Sainath, my mentor, told me, and it's part of one of the critically acclaimed documentaries for Nero's Guests. I get this question very often: why should we care? Why do we engage? How does it matter? And I believe this story is something that moved me, and that's why that keeps me going. The story of Nero, the Roman emperor, whose Rome burned, the palace burned, and he rebuilt the Rome fresh and wanted to throw a party on the opening of the new palace. But those were the times when we didn't have electricity, and the party was to go on forever, go on through the night. So Nero ordered that slaves be brought, they be put on pyres on the ramparts of the fort, and they be burned, and the party would go on. So Nero's writer, or the Roman writer Tacitus in his prose has beautifully explained, as Sainath then goes on to tell us, that Tacitus explains how the party went on as the slaves burned on the ramparts. And then Sainath critically asks one question which actually moved me, and then I felt that I can't escape this, I can't leave this issue now. He says the question is not about Nero or his party. Question to me, the point to me was, who were Nero's guests? Who were Nero's guests? What sort of a mindset or a heart they needed to continue enjoying the party as one more human being burned alongside? So he says, we can have differences of opinion. You may have your own approach. You may think market economy is better. Someone may think no, social welfare is more important. We may have someone will say education is more important, health is more important, sustainable agriculture is more important. We may have differences of approach. But at least we can agree on one point, that we need not be Nero's guests. And that's why I feel, as an agreement I said, at least I can't be part of that party. I think I will stop here and leave this thing for, maybe we'll have questions later. House is for Ravi. These are the 4 things I just felt you can think about. Thank you very much.
Jagdeep, just truly thank you so much for opening our eyes to what is happening in rural India. But how is AID addressing this? And thank goodness for organizations like AID. We have no other than Ravi Kuchimanchi. Ravi founded the Association for India's Development, or AID, in 1991, with the vision that problems are interconnected. So must be the solutions. Ravi's involvement in developing the pedal power generator to light remote off-the-grid village schools in Western India inspired the Bollywood film Swadesh in 2005. Please welcome Ravi Kuchimanchi.
Thank you very Thanks, David, for an excellent presentation, showing us the crisis that is confronting all of us. It's confronting not only the farmers of India, but India itself, and all of us who care so deeply about India. I also want to thank Srivas, Archana, Dilip, Saif. I know so many of you who have stood with aid volunteers, Sunita, Nevik, and others here, to bring this wonderful gathering today to think about the farmers of India and what we can do, to help them. So I try to convey the impact that aid has been making. For this, I would ask you to spend a couple of seconds imagining that you are actually a farmer. Let's say you are a farmer in India. You have sown the seeds and you are about to harvest the crop. And let us say a hailstorm just came before you could harvest it and destroyed your crop. And that has put you in distress because you took loans and so on and worked hard to harvest that crop. So what would you do? In most places in India, that distress has no solution or has very few solutions. However, if you are a farmer in two districts of India, which is the Adilabad district in Telangana and the Vikarabad district in Telangana, then you have the option to pick up the phone and call the Kisan Mitra helpline. And this is what a farmer who was in distress did that. Kisan Mitra helpline is something that was started by aid and its partner groups, the CSA, and that's Ramanjane from CSA. So these are in the helpline. These are the people, for example, are answering the calls, and all the calls that we get are recorded. And so when you called this helpline, what did we do? So one of the counselors who answered the call told you that immediately within 2 days, you have to submit the evidence of crop damage to the insurance company. The insurance company, of course, did not pay up because a hailstorm does not cause a very big damage like the flood, so how will they believe you? So you worked, this group, the Kisan Mitra Helpline, worked for 2 months to ensure that your claim was accepted, and you got 18,000 rupees per acre compensation back from the insurance company. Not only you, but your call also helped 40 other farmers, because this helpline identified that in that region 40 other farmers similarly lost their crop. And therefore the total compensation for the 80 acres that was lost was $25,000. And this is just one success story of this Kisan Mitra helpline. And so far it has answered 5,000 distress calls. This helpline was started when the collector, this is the collector Divya. She was an aid volunteer herself when she was in BITS, Pilani. So she worked with aid and partner groups to start this helpline in 2 districts of Telangana. Now you might be wondering, okay, what if I'm in Maharashtra? Then don't I have this helpline? So you'll be happy to know that in Wardha district in Maharashtra, the collector has studied this model and believes that this model should also be there in the Wardha district in Maharashtra. So he is making efforts to bring the model there. There are 2 bottlenecks. One is, of course, for the back end of this model, funding to a group like aid, also a group like aid is needed. The second thing is that the collector has to convince the government to allot a budget to it, because the only way to sustain these things is to have the government actually allot budgets for them so that they are part of the government system. And that's what Divya managed to do with this Kisan Mitra helpline. Now I want you to imagine that you are a farmer, and if you are a farmer in a region that does not have much water, let's say there isn't much rainfall, then what would you do? You would think, why would I grow a water-intensive crop like rice? I would rather grow millets. You know, many of you, for example, know ragi and lashni is a millet. There are many such millets in India. These are the traditional food grains that do not require much water, and they are suited for the local climate, and they are more healthy. But everywhere you see, in small towns in India and big villages, you see rice mills, you see the chakki, but then there is nothing to process millets. So you wonder whether growing millets will actually scale, because whether the markets can meet the scale because millets are not being processed. This is exactly the problem that 8 Seattle volunteers confronted and supported over the last 2 years a project to study what machines are available to remove, separate millets from stone, to remove their husk, just like it's done for rice and wheat, to make the flour, and what were the bottlenecks in these machines. The spin-off of this effort from support from, oh, before that, these are the farmers, some of the farmers whom the Kisan help, these are outlined. So the spin-off of that effort, the study, is that we have started a millet machine and tools company, and this is the first product of that company, which is a grader. This separates the millets from the stone, so you can see the grader in action in this little video clip. So as the millets flow through this, and each of the innovation that our group, Peter and others have made. Peter is an Australian who is working now in India, inspired by it for the last 15 years, and he is one of the key people who is improving these machines. So the innovation in that grader is that you can change the screens easily; they are detachable. So for different sizes of millets, you can use different screens, and even you rajma and other things can be used based on the grain size. So the way we want to take millets to the millions is by ensuring that the value addition for millets, like there's value addition for rice and wheat, value addition for millet happens at a big scale, and therefore we are working on that issue. Now imagine that you are a farmer who, like Deepthi here, is not interested in having chemicals in her food, and you are a farmer who, therefore wants to do organic farming. What would you do? So AID works with several NGOs. One of the NGOs is this NGO in Punjab, and it's called KVM. And through their support, there are organic kitchen gardens in 40 villages. There's organic farming. Here, this is another picture of another NGO, and this is a recently converted organic farmer who wanted drip irrigation. Through 10,000 rupees we provided, she mobilized 90,000 rupees from the government as a matching amount, and then set up this drip irrigation system. So that's the kind of things through NGO sector we can get for people interested in shifting to organic farming. Now if you are a farmer, then you know that one of you is going to commit a suicide in the next 30 minutes, because that is the rate at which Indian farmers are committing suicide. What will happen to the family of the farmer that commits suicide? What will happen to the children? How will they repay their debts? So we have a very strong group in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh that has worked on this issue. The government provided a compensation of 1.5 lakhs to the farmer, to families where farmers commit suicide, to get them over that period. What our efforts have done in the last 5 years is to increase that government compensation to 5 lakh rupees. Secondly, the last 2-3 years what we have been working on is that government compensation was only going to 12% of the farmers who were committing suicide. The government was not recognizing almost 90% of the farmers as being farmer suicide families. So we have been working to increase that percentage. Now, in the last 2 years, this percentage has more than doubled to 30%. So the net, benefit to the farmer is about $350 million of additional support for the farmer suicide families through this effort. Now, what about the other 70% where there has been a suicide, but we have not been able to mobilize the government support? Direct intervention by AID is supporting about a quarter of these families currently. We are able to provide about 10,000 rupees to 20,000 rupees support to people like Ashwini. So when her father committed suicide, she was the sole bread earner of her family. She began to work in brick kilns, and as laborer, she quit her school. Now she is back in her college because of support from all of you and support from AID. And her family did not get this government support, but it got the 10 or 20,000 rupees from AID. And through that support, we have been able to support about 700 families. Lastly, if you are a farmer in India, then you know that the most important thing is that the price that you get for your agricultural crop, right? Whether you are farming that year was successful or not, depends on the price that you get. And you know that the budget is going to be decided in India in the March-April period. That's when India decided to make its budget for the year, a few months before the monsoon season. So how will the ideas of what kind of support the budget will give for agriculture, education, health, how will your ideas get into the budget? So one of the things, aid and working with Raitu Swadhar Vedika, with people like Kiran. So this is Kiran, he's a Jeevan Sathi of aid. That means that he has gone back to India after volunteering for aid here, and now he has quit his job here, and now he is devoting his life to working on farmers' issues. So people like him lobby with the Indian government. They bring out, whatever they feel are needed for the budget, for a farmer-friendly budget, to influence the budget. And this year that lobbying was extremely successful. And for this Kharif season, for example, the maximum support price has been increased, increased significantly through this effort. So that means that the price between the farmers and the produce has been significantly increased, as projected by the government. Now, of course, whether how that can be implemented with the market forces wanting to reduce the price is a different ballgame, and that's what Kiran and others are currently going to be working on. And finally, if you are a farmer, then I think that what you should know is that Aid Seattle and everybody in this room is your friend. And no matter where you are a farmer in India, all of us in this room, along with Aid, would like to do our best so that our support and solidarity is with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ravi. Farmers are simple, hardworking, and honest people. I know that firsthand, although my husband would not say that I'm simple, but the rest of my family, very simple. Farmers deserve our support and our empathy. Last year, Aid Seattle raised an average of $1,000 per attendee at this event. And I hope you will consider to do the same. In fact, the Aid Seattle board is going to match for every person that gives $1,000 or more. They are going to match that 100%. So if you also have the benefit of corporate matching, tonight your donation would actually be tripled. So how can your donation improve the lives of struggling farmers in India? $100 helps to support 20 farming families. $500 can be the difference between life or death. This is the amount of a loan that a farmer feels so burdened by that he actually commits suicide under the stress and strain. We just simply cannot allow this to happen over $500. Just $1,000 spent on advocacy has in the past resulted in the government releasing $60,000 of aid to farmers. And without that advocacy, that money would just lay untapped. What has aid achieved in the last year? 22,836 farmers have directly benefited from the programs aid has funded. 350 million rupees in government funds have been released to affected farmers from AID's advocacy work. And 140,000 acres are being converted to sustainable agriculture due to AID's efforts. And lastly, 95% of your donation will go directly to the farmers that need it in India. So please think about what you have heard today and donate generously. After you have filled out the pledge cards, which you should have received when you walked in the door, there will be volunteers who will walk around with baskets in which you can place these pledge cards. And please note that you all were given a bidder number. This is on the small envelope you were given. So that will be the number that you actually put on the pledge card. And for those of you who are interested in getting a snail mail copy of your tax receipt letter,